Welcome one and all to the all-in-one MLS Fantasy Show. This is the MLS Fantasy Cast. I'm your host, Cooper, joined as always by my co-host, Dog, and fantasy team namesake, Pancake. While she is a mostly silent partner, if you do hear any unexplained dog or dog-related noises, you know who to blame. This is our weekly preview of the coming week in all things FMLS. We'll be taking a look at the coming fixtures and player options before going over my own team, building ideas, philosophy, and strategy. If you do find yourself enjoying the video, please feel free, feel encouraged to like or subscribe and leave a comment. I would very much appreciate it. I do apologize for the late uploads this week. Next week I'll be hoping to target a Monday release for the review, and then Wednesday or Thursday for the preview of the coming games and all things FMLS. Let's go ahead and get into the coming fixtures. We have a bunch of games on Saturday and a handful on Sunday. So, first game, New York City and Portland Timbers. You're going to see when I start doing my team that I have some ideas on how to incorporate players from one of these teams. It's Portland. I think NYCFC look really bad right now, to be completely honest. Maybe at the moment, performance-wise, probably the worst team in the league. Bad vibes, too. They've already got players fighting with the coach. It's a disaster. It feels like this should be a win, or at the very least a draw for Portland. The only real concern is Portland's defense has been leaky, but more on that to come. Toronto and Charlotte played at the same time. Toronto have been very good so far this year. Charlotte also been very good. I think this could be a very defensive game. It'll be very interesting to see how Charlotte cope. I mean, I was gonna say this is a challenge. Last week was also a challenge for Charlotte. They're just very well coached by Dean Smith, off to a good start this year. Could be a good game or low scoring game. I keep getting tongue twisted. I think both defenses are viable options. Atlanta, New England played that evening. New England did have the midweek game. They won handily against La Liga, but still, they should be a little bit. Not up to 100% fitness. Atlanta should be very fresh, hopefully much improved from week one. I've seen a lot of people talk about Atlanta having a good chance not only to score goals, but to clean this week, and I have to agree. Although New England do have a chance at popping in a shock result. Columbus and Chicago played at the same time. Columbus also had the midweek game. Cucho Hernandez did rest for a lot of that game, but he's going to start for sure. I bet he plays the full 90, but if he goes off a little bit early, I wouldn't be too surprised. But Chicago is definitely a big test for them, and I'm not quite sure that they're going to be up to it. New York Red Bulls against FC Dallas also at the same time. FC Dallas are a little banged up right now. We'll see if Jesus Ferreira starts the game. Peter Musa, I think, will probably start for them. It'll be a good test for the New York Red Bulls defense. It'll be interesting to see how they do at home. I do favor New York in this game. Same time, Orlando and Minnesota. Minnesota were very impressive last week against the Columbus Crew. I think it'll be very interesting to see how they play this week. Orlando City have struggled so far this year to get through the press. They also had a midweek game. They got thrashed 5-0 as well by Miami last week. So this is either the start or the game where Orlando start to turn it on. It'll be interesting to see if they can actually score some goals, how Luis Muriel does for them, or this could be a shock result for Minnesota. Philadelphia Union and the Seattle Sounders, both these teams are banged up. This is kind of an up-in-the-air game for me. I think both teams, maybe Philadelphia a little bit more, are going to be rotated, although Philadelphia by choice. Seattle have had a lot of injury problems. De La Vega is now hurt, I think, for a month. Kind of just a hard game to call. If I were going to guess anything, a 0-0 game. Might be most likely maybe 1-1. Austin FC against St. Louis City SC. We will see if Sebastian Drusi starts for Austin FC. I think he's going to play no matter what. He is back in training. In an interview earlier this week, the coach was a little bit hesitant to say whether he was going to play or start or not. He's going to play. Whether he starts, that's the big question. If he starts, then I actually think Austin maybe have a chance. I know St. Louis were really good last week, but they still feel kind of iffy to me. If he doesn't start, then I think St. Louis should back themselves to win this game, although Austin did put in a good defensive shift last week against the Seattle Sounders, but a little bit of a toss-up for me. I've seen a lot of people say St. Louis, this should just be a lock-in win for them. I'm not quite as sure, but We'll see. Real Salt Lake against the Colorado Rapids, big rivalry game. Real Salt Lake have had lost a few players. I think Ojeda is out with a yellow card, and then unfortunately Pablo Ruiz is out for the entire year again with a knee injury. That's a big loss for them, but they did in a strange game. They pulled out a big win last week. They're still at home. I back Salt Lake to win this game. I think I was a little too harsh on them earlier this year. I think they might be a team that's better, or at least more pragmatic than I've given them credit for. Los Angeles FC and Sporting KC at the double slot for the night. I think this should be a comfortable win for Los Angeles FC. This could be sort of a revenge game if they come off last week, feeling pissed off about having to play in those conditions. They could take it out on Sporting Kansas City. This is a big test for SKC. I find it hard to see Los Angeles not winning that game. San Jose at Vancouver at San Jose. San Jose have been very poor this year. I've been very low on them. I did not like the way that Vancouver played last week. Most notably, the way they utilized Ryan Gauld. We'll see if they make any adjustments. It's kind of a weird game. I'm not sure where to put either of these teams right now in the league, but I would definitely favor Vancouver just a little bit. On Sunday, FC Cincinnati versus DC United. This is not a cut and dry game. DC United are at the very least decent. I was gonna say legit. By legit, I mean they're not terrible. They're not near as bad as I thought they were gonna be. They do have, I think right now, the highest XG in the entire league. Cincinnati had the brutal midweek game loss. Very strange moment in that game against Monterrey. Aaron Bupenza went down off ball with the most textbook looking pulled a muscle while running you've ever seen. He was screaming and crying, rolling on the ground. He went off and then just jogged back on like it never happened. It was really strange. I don't know if he's an injury concern. It was really weird. But this Cincinnati team should be a little bit tired. I don't think Cincinnati will be able to keep a clean sheet, but I don't think they're going to lose this game. I don't know if Christian Benteke is going to play, but DC United are, I think, going to give just about everybody trouble, but I do think they're also going to concede a lot of goals in this game and just in general. Nashville SC and LA Galaxy. I think LA Galaxy are legit this year. I do also think that Nashville were very, very good yesterday against Inter Miami, especially Schaffelberg, who was put in a big man of the match performance. Defensively, Nashville are doing what they do. They are a very good defensive team. We'll see if Hani Mukhtar starts. I think he probably will. I think Nashville need either Sam Surridge or somebody like Sam Surridge to complete their attack. But I give the edge to LA Galaxy in this game. I think Galaxy are just eye test and results. They look really good, and Nashville are still a little banged up. They're missing some pieces. I don't think it's gonna be a blowout by any stretch, but a 1 or 2-0, 2-1, something like that for LA Galaxy feels most accurate to me. And then the last game of the week is Inter Miami against Montreal. Big game for Inter Miami. They struggled against Nashville earlier this week. The late comeback did help, but Messi and Suarez, I think, too, both went the full 90. The real question is for this game, is Messi going to start? I think he either plays 60 minutes or he plays 30 minutes. If it's a super tight game and he starts, maybe he stays on longer. Suarez, I'm not so sure. I think Campagna is hurt, so Suarez, I think, basically has to start. And we have seen Miami struggle against teams who press really well. They've just struggled to keep up with that. Montreal are a team that does press very well right now. It'll be interesting to see what Laurent Comtois pulls out of the hat for Montreal this week. I think it could be a close game, or Miami just kind of stamp down their authority on it. It'll be interesting to see. It's definitely a tough one to call. But let's go ahead. Let's get into my team. So similar to I think the last 2 weeks, I've thought about my team all week, worked on it a bunch. These are kind of the ideas that I'm thinking players I've considered. I'll start with goalkeeper. So in terms of early game keepers, with the new point system, scoring system, paying a premium price for goalkeepers is just not a very conducive strategy. I think right now they're not really giving out or putting up a lot of points. So I would say like anybody over 6.5 at the maximum, I would not consider. I'm personally not going that high. But if you want to take like Hugo Lloris or Andre Blake, Brad Guzan, I think those are decent options. I wanted to take advantage of the first set of games tomorrow just for my mental health, and that like if I pick an early game goalkeeper from either Portland, New York City, Toronto, or Charlotte, I think are the other two, and if they hit, then like I just don't have to worry about goalkeeper anymore. Of those four teams, the cheapest goalkeeper is Maxime Crépeau. He was very good last year. Last week he was very good. Made a lot of saves. He could get a lot of action against New York City FC. He's 6.4. That's a little bit higher than I want to pay, but I'm willing to do it. I decided on this kind of early this week, and then over the last like day, I've rethought it a little bit, but I'm going to try to stick with it. Last week, I second guessed myself, and that hurt me in a lot of spots. I'm going to try to stick with my first instincts a little bit more this week. So for better or for worse, he was one of my goalkeepers. Just for price sake, the cheapest other starter, or the cheapest starter this week is Thomas, with Seattle. Stephen Frey is still going to be hurt. And so just for budgeting reasons, like so I know how much I have, I've got him as my other keeper. When I get everyone in, I'm going to swap Crépeau and Thomas. Defenders wise, if you want to take Bombito, only 4.4 from Colorado. I think that is just about the cheapest, best thing you can do. I'm not taking him this week because I do think RSL are going to make some stuff happen. But for 4.4, you can't, if he doesn't do well, he doesn't do well. If he does well, it's great. He's gotten some good bonus points just from passing. Any week that he's going to be 4.5 or less, unless we see a big price rise, I think he's worth it. Or like any defensive starter from there is basically worth, just having on your bench. Same thing on the Chicago Fire. Aragone's only 4.2. If you're like me and you don't want to put any money in your defense or as little as possible, guys like that are great options. Same goes for Junqua for FC Dallas. I think there's definitely some more sub 5 starting defenders, but those are the big ones off the top of my head. Somebody I'm taking this week, I think Atlanta have a good chance of keeping a clean sheet right now. I'm a little bit worried with them against New England, more worried than I was earlier this week because Carlos Hill sat out the whole game against La Liga earlier this week. So he's going to be fresh. New England have still looked a little bit sus. They are missing a few players. Caleb Wiley got pretty close, I think, week 1 to getting some more bonus points than he did. I think Atlanta can keep a clean sheet. I think they can. For 5.7, I feel like there is a lot of upside here. I'm taking Caleb Wiley this week. We're gonna hope that they can shut New England out, or he can get an assist running up or down the wing. I've seen a lot of people take Brooks Lennon. I think that's also a good pick, but a little rich for my blood. If you want, looking at some other bonus points, guys, if you don't think Austin have it in them to score at St. Louis, Totland at 6 has been really racking up the bonus points. Hit some key passes, not super far off from hitting some passing numbers either. He's a good option, I think. And then Dylan Nealis from New York Red Bulls is, I think, key pass-wise, like, top. He's put up a lot of key passes, very close on those passing, getting a passing bonus point as well. Also a good option. Same thing for Noah Isle. He flies up the wing for them a lot as well. And then if you want to really spend some money, John Tolkien's a good option too, but very, very rich for my blood. I'm not looking to spend that kind of money on any defender, even though I think he's a good option. Other defenders, I think Portland are my punt for the week. Kamal Miller is only a 5 million starter, plays the full 90, nothing in terms of bonus points, but he's only 5. If Portland can keep a clean sheet, then I don't care what Caleb Wiley does or my other defensive options that you're going to see in a minute. If they keep a clean sheet, I just would feel so good the rest of the day. So I'm crossing my fingers, hoping for an away clean sheet for a very suspect defensive team. It doesn't make a lot of sense, but I'm just hoping. I'm just hoping it works. The other guy I picked was probably the most nailed defender in my team this week. In most teams, Anelli is an excellent option for Salt Lake this week at home against a very struggling Colorado attack. He does very good on the passing bonus points. He plays DM, really. It'll be interesting to see with the permanent loss of Pablo Ruiz if his role changes at all. But just as a 6, he's at 5. Home game. I know it's a rivalry game, but it's very good value. Last week I set up with the double defensive scrub. Changed my mind late on. I set up that way this week, kind of when I did a lot of this initial planning, and I'm going to stick with it. Houston are the team with the bye, so I'm just going to pop in Sargent and I will Desu. Those are going to be my two scrubs, my team. No money taken away from midfield or offense this week. Someone's revving a motorcycle outside. Sorry if you can hear that. I know Luciano Costa did go the full 90 midweek in that rough game, but if he's going to start, and I bet he plays. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes the 90. I think he'll play at least 60. Just those crossing and key pass numbers, I just can't look past them. He's expensive. I think this is a Cincinnati team that is kind of struggling right now. I just can't not pick him. I'm just too afraid to. Ricky Pooch will be interesting this week. His role changed a little bit last week. I hope he plays more in the middle this week as he did week 1. I think that's more conducive for bonus points. Either way, I think he's a lock for me as well. Painstill is a very good option this week. I'm not taking him, but he is a good option. Carlos Hill is a good option too. He always is, but he is way too expensive for that matchup in my opinion. Hopefully this is the Thiago Almada week, his first big game of the year. He struggled a lot to get into the game against Columbus. I am just hoping he has better luck this week against New England. Him at home, it's just too enticing not to go for. I am fading Lionel Messi this week. I'm not doing it. I think actually a lot of people are. If I would have said this any of the last 2 weeks, or I'm sure many of the coming weeks, the fading Messi police are gonna get on me or get on you. Oh, why you're fading Messi? Yeah, I'm fading Messi this week. It's the game time. Them being last puts it in a precarious situation. I don't ever want to play anybody on my team who isn't starting. And I think there is a chance Messi comes off the bench. I don't think he will, but I bet he plays 60. Even if it's a close game, I still think maybe he comes off. I'm not sure. He's just so expensive. I want to put my money elsewhere. The game is dead last. It's hard to pivot from Messi to something else with that financial commitment. I'm not taking him this week. If you're taking him, that's great. I don't have any criticism or qualms with it. I don't think he's a good captaincy option this week, just because, again, if he's not playing or not getting the minutes that you'd want for your captain, there's not really anyone to pivot to. Suarez maybe, but Suarez I think is going to be more banged up or wore out than Messi. Not taking him this week. Not doing it. Cucho, as always, is an amazing option. I'm not taking him this week either. Also, just kind of a budgetary thing. I think Bouanga has a revenge game from the injustice LAFC feel they suffered last week at home against SKC. I think this should be a big game for him. So I'm taking Bouanga. I really like for fantasy the way that Arango is being played right now. It's just everything's going up to him. Everything's going up to him. He should just dominate with key passes. He just gets so much action, so many chances at home against Colorado. Colorado, I think, have the worst rest defense in the league. I just can't pass up on Arango. I can't do it. Jovic is a good option this week. Suarez, if he starts and you're patient, also a good option. Looking down some of these other ones, I think Bupenza's a decent option. Like I mentioned, he maybe got a little bit banged up earlier this week, but I do feel like he's just going to get so much volume up top for Cincinnati that he's going to be a good pick. Brian White could be a good pick. Here's my third guy. I'm praying for a GG big game. He came very close week one to getting a key pass bonus point and a shots on goal bonus point. New England struggled to handle a different target man week one in the form of Christian Benteke. I think they are going to struggle to handle GG. GG had the best goals per minute ratio in the league last year by a country mile. He's at a discount right now at the minus 300. I'm taking him. It feels a hair risky, but I feel like the upside is significant. Some of these other guys, if you want to take any Portland attackers that are a discount, that's not a bad option. St. Louis, probably the same thing, but I think aside from that, nobody else down here really sticks out to me. If you want to take a big swing on Duncan McGuire, if he's starting, this wouldn't be the dumbest thing ever. And then if you want massive discount, Sealy is still only like $5 million. But aside, there's a bunch of really good forward options up here at the top of the price margin, and then once you get lower, it does really thin out. But that's what I'm running this week: Arango, Buanga, and Giacomakis. As for my other two spots, I've got two midfielders to fill in. I'm interested again in Emil Forsberg. He kind of let me down last week, but he did come very close to scoring a free kick goal. He's splitting set pieces with John Tolkien now, which I don't love. His role against Houston was a little bit different against Nashville. I'm putting him in, and then I'm going to wait to see what their lineup looks like, what their shape and formation looks like, and then I may consider taking him out. But it is a home game against Dallas, and Dallas are thin at the back and looking kind of open. I think it's a good week for him. So I am taking Forsberg, but I wouldn't hate pivoting to someone like Leuven, even Painsil. I don't think I can afford it, but all these other guys are great options. Like I think Christian Espinoza is a good option this week. Gazdag, if he starts, not the worst. I wouldn't touch Reingold right now unless Vancouver come out a different formation and he's not playing like second striker. I think Bogus for LAFC is a good option. I do believe Ilya Mendy is not going to play this week. Robert Taylor isn't the worst option in the world. Driussi, I think, is actually, if he starts, maybe a good option. The minutes might be a deal breaker, but everything's got to go through him. Evander, if he plays, not the worst pick. Carlos Gomez, if you really want to swing for the fences, is a decent option. Diego Luna at 7, probably a good pick as well. If you really want to punt, like maybe you think Facundo Torres starts making good. Osorio is not a terrible option. I've seen people stick Flores from Toronto. He's on like 6.8 or something as a budget option. Not a bad pick. So my budget pick, though, my last spot I'm going to fill in is Inter Miami. Hoping maybe for a clean sheet, hoping for something at 5.9. Diego Gomez is very well priced. He's more or less all I can afford with what I've got left. So he is my last spot in. So looking at the team, always hit save. Okay, always hit save. So hopefully Crepeau hits, and then I can scrub Thomas, and then maybe look at upgrading one of these other spots. I'm not sure what I would do. It probably depends on what the lineups do look like, but I just reflexively hit save team all the time. But this is basically the plan. I think I'm going to captain Buanga. I feel like he probably has the most upside, although Amada, Pooch, Costa, Arango, all are fair captaincy shouts, I think. Hopefully, like I said, I hit on my Portland bet. That would save me some money. And then if Miller cleans, I don't care what Ennerly and Wiley do. Anything they can get me, I feel like it's just a bonus. Really, like if I'm running 3 defenders with how the bonus points are right now, if one of them gets a clean sheet, and especially my keeper gets a clean sheet, like that's a win. That's a win. And then hopefully all my attacking mids I've got in and forwards can rack up some points. But this is what I'm doing this week. And I do think that's about all that I've got to say. Again, I do apologize for the late upload, but that is going to do it for today. If you did enjoy the video, please feel free to like, subscribe, or even leave a comment if you so like. Even if you just enjoyed watching Pancake do nothing, feel free to do so. Best of luck to everyone this week. May the FMLS gods bless your teams with favorable bonus points and goals, and I will see you next week at the review.